This is Sean Meyer, digital content editor at Municipal World here in Nova Scotia, the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities Conference here in lovely Halifax. Our next podcast episode in this series is with our next guest, who I will let introduce themselves.
Well, I'm Pam Mood. I am mother, grandmother, and actually mayor of the town of Yarmouth, that I call the best piece of real estate on earth.
That's a nice little caveat on the end there. That's very impressive. So we're here at the conference. I'm guessing you find value in, or you wouldn't be here. Well, why? Why is it important that this sort of thing is continued on?
There's 100 reasons. And I would start with, obviously, information, great sessions. For me, the most important part is that ability to connect with other people.
Sure.
So the networking is top of mind for me. Number one, the ability to call someone, reach out via text or email, and ask those questions, because none of us are experts in
Sure.
everything. And so that ability, I absolutely love it. Love it.
And there's obviously all kinds of sizes of communities, and not all the sizes of communities have the resources that others have. So sometimes it's nice to reach out to a colleague or somebody in another municipality and say, hey, what are you doing?
Yeah, absolutely. The benefit of that piece is tremendous. I also am a big believer in knowledge and have no problem at all. Some folks get upset when I say this, but if you want to be mediocre, then just continue on. If you want to be great, you have to take advantage of everything, and taking advantage of something like this costs money, certainly. Sure. But nothing in life is free. And I guess it's just like a university education or reading a bunch of good books.
That's very true. That's very true. You are certainly no stranger to this world, so I'm curious what your feelings are on the state of local government today.
The state of local government, that's a great question. I think lots of things on that. So local government, I mean, you would hear this from just about every politician at the local level, where we are face to face with the people.
Often in the grocery store.
Exactly. So try to get a loaf of bread in under an hour is a challenge.
Yes.
But, I hold myself to the challenges. I think local government is opening up to lots of diversity. And by that, I mean diversity across the board. So what we're seeing now is not just more women, because that's the first thing people think, people of color and culture, but the young folks. Because we have 12 years ago, I'm sitting at a conference at FCM, and I look in a crowd of 3,000 people, and I look and I can see all the same color hair, right, in the same.
Wouldn't be my color, I'm assuming. So.
My color too, but the same gender.
Sure.
So very few people, sprinkled out, and then as of last year and a couple of years ago, the diversity is growing, and that's tremendously important. The state and local government, obviously, money is top of mind.
Sure.
We're trying to do more with less. I think that the expectations of the people themselves, or constituents, their expectations are higher.
Sure.
So we want to make people happy. I'm not a fan of giving everybody everything they want. I'm a fan of spending the money first on what do we need to grow as a community, so that it covers everybody, and then doing the wants.
Sure.
So those pieces, just the finances and diversity and all those things, growing populations, aging populations. I don't think there's anything that doesn't touch on local government.
Absolutely.
So we're in pretty good shape.
The other side of that coin, though, and you briefly touched on it, you are being asked to do more with less, but also around topics that once upon a time someone in your chair would never have to worry about. So when it comes to things like, housing and mental health, addictions, and people like to think it's only in Halifax, it's only in Toronto. Yeah. It's not. It's everywhere. And these are very big topics. And you're one little mayor in one little community. Clearly, you're a hopeful person and you would be in this job, but what makes you confident that there are solutions to be found?
There are solutions. I think human nature says that. It's just to put the right people at the right table. And I'm a leadership expert, so it's a little bit easier for me to understand that piece of pulling everything together.
Mhm.
So the solutions lie just in that. Sit everyone at the table, put everything out there, mash through it, and what's the next best step? Because it's not going to be sit at the table, solution found. It's going to be next step, and then, a next step and a next step. And then finally you get to a place where, we can live with this. It may not be perfect, but we can live with this. And really, I think that's probably one of the most difficult parts right now. So, 12 years ago, I'm dealing with those things in the community that are ours. And now everything is provincial or federal.
Right.
That's a big task to take on for the people that, I'll just say it because I believe it's true, that work the hardest, have their face to face with people every single day. That's difficult to have to take on the healthcare and the housing and all those things that belong to someone else.
Sure.
So my answer to that one, I guess, is that it's our job at a municipal level to set the table. It's not our job to find you a house. It's our job to set the table so that the developers will come in and do what they do best. So it's really difficult. It's a tough one.
Some of those difficulties too, and we've seen it across this country, Quebec, Ontario, lots of places. Good people being forced out, not reordering, or just walking out in the middle of terms even. I'm guessing you don't encourage that, but you understand it.
Yeah.
How do you wrap your head around, I love this thing that I do, but it's driving away good people. Yeah. We need good people in local government.
We do need good people in local government. I wish that it were not set up the way it is because, and I'm pretty blunt, so I know folks will listen and say, I can't believe she said that, but my lips were moving. I probably said it.
Sure.
The pay. I mean, I don't have to do this. A lot of people that are in this don't have to do this.
There was a joke made this morning.
See, it's something because it comes from the heart and the soul, and you just want to give back. I'm Lebanese, so my family came over, and it's just, how do you give back to the community that you may not otherwise have been part of? And so it's a life of servanthood, and it's difficult. But people don't want to belong because I will say, number one, social media.
Yes,
it's a killer. It's a killer. It's going to take us all out. Everybody duck. Right? Turn it off. Hit that button. But I get attacked, and people often come up to me and say, of everyone in Nova Scotia, I think you get it the worst. But it's because I'm out there, and I'm not afraid to say what I think. And if you're not going to vote for me because I've given you the truth, the old adage, you can't find an honest politician. Well, you got one, and all you do is attack. Yeah. And so we have to. How do you manage that? So the way I manage it is I don't get upset. I just think the harder you're attacking, the more you must have to deal with in your life, and the more you need me to lead from an honest place where I genuinely care about you. And you still don't have to like me, but I will still do everything for you in my power. So it's a tough thing to wrap your head around, getting punched in the face and saying, I love you. I'm going to try to fix it for you.
But sometimes that's not enough, and people walk away. Yeah. When they do, I mean, it makes the whole sector seem like, it goes back to that, you can't find honest politicians. They're all crooked. Yeah. All the negative stereotypes you hear about every politician. How do you deal with those? Because you know for a fact, not just in your core, but you are leadership. You know this sector. It's not true. So
it's not true. It's not true. And so you have to get to a point. I think this is what you're asking. You have to get to a point where you know this is why I'm doing it. I'm a good person. I am honest. And really, what you say about me is none of my business.
Sure.
It's not. And that's a hard thing to say because I think at the core of just being a human being, when somebody says something that's not true, you want to fix it. You want to just, no, but I've given up the arguing. What you think of me is none of my business unless I've done something to hurt you or done something to,
Right.
to harm. So there's a lot of self-reflection and checking in. Have I done the right thing? Have I hurt somebody? Have I not heard what they're saying? That's a big one too, because we don't always hear. You know, people
Absolutely.
are not living in tents because, you know what, it's air conditioned.
Yeah.
You know, they're in tremendously difficult positions. Are we hearing that? Or are we living in our life without enough empathy capacity to really figure that one out and get where they are, at least, you know, heart to heart, so we can try to fix. So
I like the point about listening to people and what their needs are. And I think that takes us into a question about your community. You recently have transformed transit in your community, but also extended. We're talking free service, but we're also talking service to a First Nations community that didn't get that from you. Where did that all come from? How did that change come about?
We'll start with the First Nations community, Wasoqopa'q. And they're our neighbors, just across the municipal line and into the municipality of Yarmouth from the town. And they're on what we call the airport stretch. So it's a stretch of highway that shouldn't be. It's just it's dangerous. And we see folks every day from that community walking into town, which is not far. It's less than a kilometer, but the traffic is wild and people don't slow down. It's at night. Somebody's going to get killed there, point blank. How do we help that? They're not in the town. It's not up to us to do that, but it is up to us as good neighbors and friends. And I have a great relationship with the First Nations community there. The chief and I are great friends, and we just try to do a lot of things together. And so we've just got to get out there. We got to get that bus out there. But, you know, there's lots of rules and regulations. So how do you fix that? And we want to do things right. So we did that. And we reached out to them and said, you know, are you interested? And they couldn't say yes fast enough, because they're concerned for their people as much as we're concerned for their people. Economically, it made sense because they have, you know, restaurants and shops and hotels, all those pieces. And then they want the same thing in town. We want them to shop here. They want us to shop there, support each other economically. So it just made sense. Went to the transit committee. It was a heck yes. And off we went. So we're pretty pumped.
That's a tremendous project.
Yeah.
And let's face it, local government sector loves stealing from each other. I'm guessing this is one you would like them to steal.
Yes. Yeah. Fill the bus.
Yeah.
Fill the bus.
Because there's lots of communities in the same sort of boat.
Yeah, there are.
But then you transformed transit for your own residents as well.
Yes, we did. That was an easy one as well. And we talked about it before the municipal election. And it's funny. I have a great council. I have an amazing council. And everyone agreed. We've been talking about it. Let's not implement it until after the election, because we didn't want anyone to think we were doing it for votes. That's how your mind goes. We're doing that for votes. I'm like, yeah, no, a couple dollars isn't going to make or break us. And that's not how we work. So this is the simplest one. This was listening to people economically. How do I get from point A to point B? How do I get to my doctor's appointment? How do I get groceries? How do I socialize? In a world where we all know how difficult it is to find, even for some, the $2. And, you know, can I find the loonie? Can I get to town hall or one of the shops to buy a ticket for $2 to get on that bus? So we just said, you know what? Why is this not free? And when I explained it to the community, you know, on behalf of council, I basically said, you know, if someone is not on the bus because they don't have $2 or couldn't get somewhere to get a ticket, some folks are headed to the hospital. Some folks, because I've gotten on that bus a couple times, I got on the old bus. That's an aside. We just bought 2 brand new buses.
Oh, wow.
That old one needed some cushions, man, and some new shocks. It was killing all of us. But yeah, so we just said it just needs to be free. And I would get on the bus the couple times that I did, and it was like a little community, like of 14 people, and they love the bus drivers. And they're talking to each other. What did you do last night? Did you catch that game last night? Or,
Right.
what'd you have for supper? And those types of things. And for them, it was mall. They might stop at the grocery store, but then they was like, I can't wait to get on the bus and talk to my friends again. So it was a social event, that hour-long loop through town. Get to see everything, what's going on. And this is
Yeah.
as we did the whole town. So we said, no more money for you from you.
That sounds perfect.
Yeah.
And that's a very hopeful way to end this episode. So thank you so much, Pam. Appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you.